제하며 아무리 편하며 시야데이터 라하시마사리 돌아버텨드린다 Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parivraj Agacharya Ashtatasha Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai. Ananta Goti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nama Acharya Shri Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Mathura Dham ki jai. Madhuri Dham ki jai. Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Saraswati Devi ki jai. Gandamai ki jai. Yamunamai ki jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Jai Gaura Premanande Yagyaki All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya.
Hare Krishna, yeah, behind the cars. It's right there on the farm. What's nice is these one has to see one of those. Yeah. It's close. That's the best way. So can we meet? Yeah. So let's say he said, we can say. Yeah, that means there's just no restrictions. Yeah. Because the point is, we always have to set these tensions here. So that's it. Yeah, and this is the best way. You should put it like this. Because create a beat on this.
So, who knows which text we're starting from tonight?
Chapter 15.
Chapter 15. between text 1?
We've been starting the text many times.
Oh.
And I also remember, right? It talks.
You want to know what page one? Next?
Yeah.
Next 7 or
What date does that say on the bottom?
It is 20th of March.
20th of March.
10 years ago. That time we were in
Where did we leave off on that one?
We were in 14.23, so we already surpassed that. We are in 15 now.
Yeah. Somewhere in 15. The last number is 14.23?
Yeah.
Okay. So
What's the answer?
I don't know, it's been 10 days.
20 to 15.5.
15.5. Alright, that's easy. Okay, start with the Mon-Sun. Om Yanatmarandasya Kanachana Shavakaya Chakshurumilitamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparadikam Andeham Shri Guru Shri Yudhabhakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajantam Sahagana Bhavanatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pradam Sadhatu Sahagana Amita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha He Krishna Krishna Sindhu Dina Bando Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate.
He's not down there.
What?
He's not down there.
Oh. Should I still go?
Probably not.
It should be there, or somewhere closer, somewhere around.
He's in the ashram.
Well, be back. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhi Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. So we're going to start with text 5 of chapter 15. Yoga as a Greek person. We'll read 11 verses and we'll go back and discuss. So text 5. Nirmana moha jita sangha dosha adhyatma nityata nivritta kamaha tantara mukta sukadukha samkhya gachantyam mudha padama adyayam tat. One who is free from illusion, false prestige, and false association, who understands the eternal, who is done with material lust and is freed from the duality of happiness and distress, and who knows how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attains to that eternal kingdom. Wow. Where else would you hear such a thing? What? Gita suffice. Okay, text 6. Natapasayate suryo nashashanko napavaka yadgatva nanivartante tadama paramam mama That abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by electricity. One who reaches it never returns to this material world. Text 7. Mamaivansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatanaha manashashanandriyani prakritistani karshati. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. So I think we ended on this text last time, because Mogadori was giving class and he definitely read this. So should I just start from text 8, or should I just start from text 5? You tell me what to do.
I think text 5 is what you like.
Alright, let's just keep going. Text 8. Shriramya avapnoti yaschakya utkrama shadaha grahit vaidhanami samyati vayurgandhami vashaya. The living entity in the material world carries his different conceptions of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Text 9. Shrotram chakshusparshanam cha rasanam graha. Sorry, start over. Shrotram chakshusparshanam cha rasanam grahanam eva cha arishtaya naschayam vishayam upasevate. The living entity thus taking another girl's body obtains a certain type of ear, tongue, and nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped about the mind. He thus enjoys a particular sense of sense objects. Text 10. Utkramantam stambapi onjanam vagunanditam emurdhana nabupashyanti pashyanti kyana chakshushaha. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the laws of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this. Wow. 11. Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani avastitam yatanto pyakritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasaha. The endeavoring transcendentalist who is situated in self-realization can see all this clearly, but those who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to. Text 12. Yavanatitikatam tejo jivat pasvete kilam yaschandramasi yaschakno tatejo vidimamakam. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of this whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me. Text 13. Kama vishya bhutani parayami aham ojasa pushnami choshadhi sarva somo bhuta rasatmakaha. I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit. I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Text 14. Aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deham ashritaha prana pana samayutta vachamyanam chaturvidham. I am the fire of digestion in every living body, and I am the air of life, outgoing and incoming, by which I digest the 4 kinds of food stuff. Text 15. Very famous shloka. Sarvasya chaham hrisani vishto atasmatir gyanapohanam cha vedaishya sanver aham eva vedyo vidanta kriteda eva chaham. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas. So we'll go to text 5. We'll read the translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And we can have a discussion. Okay, text 5. One who is free from illusion, false prestige, and false association, who understands the eternal, who is done with material lust, and is freed from the duality of happiness and distress, and who knows how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attains to that eternal kingdom. Okay, purport. The surrendering process is described here very nicely. The first qualification is that one should not be deluded by pride. Because the conditioned soul is puffed up, thinking himself the Lord of material nature, it is very difficult for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should know by the cultivation of real knowledge that he is not Lord of material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Lord. When one is free from delusion caused by pride, he can begin the process of surrender. This is nice. This just reminds me of yesterday. I was giving class and I was making the point that this humility is necessary to receive the Lord's mercy. And one could say that's the only thing that's preventing us from receiving the Lord's mercy, because He wants to bestow blessings and mercy to all living entities, but our pride is blocking that. So Prabhupada's highlighting that pride is, well, we'll read here in the next sentence. He says, for one who is always expecting some honor in this material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Let's read that again. For one who is always expecting some honor in the material world, it is not possible to surrender to the Supreme Person. Pride is due to illusion. For although one comes here, stays for a brief time, and then goes away, he is the foolish notion that he is the Lord of the world. He thus makes all things complicated, and he is always in trouble. The whole world moves under this impression. People are considering that the land, this earth, belongs to human society, and they have divided the land under the false impression that they are the proprietors. One has to get out of this false notion that human society is the proprietor of this world. When associations caused by familial, social, and national affection... Should I skip a sentence?
Yes.
When one is freed from such a false notion, he becomes free from all the false associations caused by familial, social, and national affections. These fake associations bind one to this material world. After this stage, one has to develop spiritual knowledge. One has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. And when one has an understanding of things as they are, he becomes free from all dual conceptions such as happiness and distress, pleasure and pain. He becomes full in knowledge. Then it is possible for him to surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is very nice, because when I was reading this, we read these last few texts, and Krishna, and what does he say? He says that I am the light of the sun, I am the heat of fire, I enter into the planets, and by my energy they're being held in place. I am the cause of knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. Prabhupada's making the point that due to pride, we're unable to surrender to the Lord, and essentially this pride is thinking that we're independent, that we don't need the Lord. Prabhupada said that, one has to cultivate knowledge of what is actually his own and what is actually not his own. So Krishna says that I'm the cause of knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So we tend to think of what's my own and what's not my own in terms of like material acquisitions. You know, this is my phone and that's not my phone. This is my shirt and that's, your shirt. But Krishna is going even more subtle, saying knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. So even that we have some kind of knowledge, whatever it may be, is coming from Krishna. The fact that we're able to remember, Krishna. The fact that we're able to forget, Krishna. So we're completely dependent in all spheres of life. And Prabhupada, he often points this out, which I think I mentioned this quite often, that we're dependent upon light, sunlight, to see. There's no sun, we can't function, we can't see. And that seems like a simple point, like, duh. But the whole point is to see that we are dependent upon something beyond ourselves. And from that, like, tip of the iceberg of meditation, you can take that much further and see that I have no qualifications myself. I'm completely dependent upon things beyond myself. So this is the beginning of surrender, is seeing that I am small and there's something much bigger than me. And I remember reading in the Sri Upanishad, Prabhupada made the point that, I don't know if it's one of the shlokas or what, but I have to check later, but basically, no living entity needs to make any extraneous endeavor for the universe to keep going on. Sometimes people feel burdened by life and so stressed, and it's like we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. You know Atlas? You heard of this? It's the guy who carries the big globe, you know? So, and he's carrying the earth, and he's burdened by the weight of the earth, so we tend to do this also. But the world, universe, life as we know it, will continue perfectly fine with or without us. But the problem is we get entangled into it and we think, we're a controller, so then we have this sphere of activities to control, and then this stresses us out and brings so much anxieties in life. In actuality, what does it also say in that same Sri Upanishad? What does it also say in the same Sri Upanishad? Om Pranam Ada Pranam Idam Pranam Pranam Udachate Pranasya Pranam Adaya Pranam Eva Vashishyate. Everything is completely perfect, it's completely full in itself. The Lord has created everything in such a way. Shri Gurdansai Ki Jai. So whatever is created from that complete whole is also complete in itself. So the universe is complete. It is perfectly designed, even though we may perceive it to be imperfect with all the Kali Yuga problems. That is perfection because it is complete in itself, because it's coming from that complete whole, complete person, Lord Krishna. So the only thing that is preventing us from seeing that is transcendental knowledge. So Krishna is giving this transcendental knowledge so we can see that. And what is this chapter 15 of the Bhagavad Gita about?
Yoga of the Supreme Person.
Yeah, that's the title, but what's it about?
Yoga. Can you get the other microphone? Read the first text. Okay. Vedic hymns. Upside down tree. Yes, the upside down banyan tree. So it's a reflection of these scriptures.
Yes, the 15th chapter is about the upside down banyan tree. Krishna is describing the material world through an analogy of the banyan tree. So then he says, its roots are upward, its branches down. The leaves are the Vedic hymns. One that knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas. And he goes on later to say that one has to cut down this tree through the weapon of detachment. So we have to cultivate detachment from this material world. And then why is Krishna saying the things that he's saying? Then he says that, what's that, the next verse we read? Natad Basayate Suryo Nashashanko Napavaka Yadgatva Nandivartante Tapama Padamamama. That abode of mine is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by electricity. One who reaches it never returns to this material world. So he describes this material world as the banyan tree, and saying one needs to cut this down with the weapon of detachment. And then he describes his abode, which is beyond the confines of this material energy. And isn't it nice that once one goes there, they don't have to return back to this world? So,
One-time ticket.
huh?
Only, there is no to and fro, only two ticket.
One-way ticket.
One-way ticket.
Yeah, so how do you cultivate this detachment though? That's a question. How?
Through attachment?
Attachment?
Yeah.
So we get attached, you get detached.
Exactly.
That depends what you get attached to. But, this is a question where, say, coming from the Western world of religiosity, this often isn't even in the conversation of detachment from the material world. There's not really a distinction of knowledge between spiritual world and material world. So, and when we hear in the Eastern world, you have the Vedas, Buddhism, Mayavadis, Vaishnavas. Detachment is very prominent. And there are different means to approach that. One can take up the process of yoga, Ashtanga yoga. One can take up the process of jnana. And those are bona fide processes to make advancement spiritually, which is ultimately meant to sharpen this weapon of detachment and cut ourselves free from this material world. But these paths are very difficult because one is relying on one's own strength. We have to do it, we have to be strong, we have to be strict. And it's very hard. You even have to cut out, friends, nice food dishes, all these things. But if we simply get attached, like you said, we get attached to service to Krishna, we get attached to the devotees, attached to prasadam, all these things are completely in our benefit to help us become detached from the material world. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it describes, by rendering devotional service to the Lord, it automatically awakens transcendental knowledge. From that transcendental knowledge comes detachment. So, when I was first reading this, that first text, I was like, wow, this is so nice, because where else are you going to hear something like this? One who is free from illusion, false prestige, and false association, who understands the eternal, who is done with material lust, and free from the duality of happiness and distress, and who knows how to surrender to that supreme person, attains to that eternal kingdom. And where else are you going to hear this? Krishna is describing the qualities that one has that's able to enter into that spiritual world. And hearing that, it's my point is, for those of us who haven't been raised with Krishna in our life, or maybe to some extent Krishna's there, but simply just hearing from a devotee and hearing the Bhagavad Gita, hearing Prabhupada's words, or coming in contact and having experience with the Maha Mantra, immediately one can become so detached from the material world, almost overnight. But then the difficulty arises as we continue on in devotional service, and our conditioned nature is so strong, we may have lingering attachments. And it's like our intelligence is up here, but emotionally we're like down here. So intellectually we can understand sense gratification is bad, but emotionally it's like, I want it. We're like little babies. So this is why it takes practice, sadhana, and then this weapon of detachment. So we're practicing rendering service to the Lord, practicing remembering the Lord at all times. And we don't have to create unnecessary austerities. Simply just waking up and coming to Mangal Arati, that's a big austerity for most of us. Chanting 16 rounds, big austerity. Working in the confines of authorities and temple structure and doing services, big austerity. So we need to perform these austerities for the pleasure of Krishna, but at the same time be cognizant of where we're at and not try to push beyond our adhikari, because when we push beyond our adhikari, generally things get a little difficult. So we follow the instructions of the spiritual master, we follow the instructions of the senior devotees, and they're always there to push us and guide us to a higher level of devotional service. As one makes tangible advancement in devotional service and develops attachment for hearing the glories of the Lord, then this knot of karma that's within the heart gets pierced and gets cut to pieces. When that knot in the heart is really cut and torn, then we become fixed and steady. and then one goes to the platform of Sattva Gun, and ultimately to the transcendental platform. And in this way, one is happy, one is peaceful, one is liberated from material energy. So, if anybody has any thoughts or comments, we can discuss. If not, I'll keep reading some things. Maybe you have something?
One quick clarification, like when you talk about the pride, is it another form of false ego that we possess?
Pride? Is it another form of false ego? Not another form, but you could say it's like a fruit of the false ego, symptom of the false ego. Because what's the false ego? The false ego thinks, I'm the doer. That's pride, that I'm the doer, I'm powerful, I'm great, me, look at me. So if one removes the false ego, then it's same, it's also removal of pride. One could, you could say they're like hand in hand. We see, Krishna bewilders Brahma, he thwarts Indra's attempts to drown Vrindavan, and their pride becomes dismantled. And what do they do when their pride becomes broken? Yeah, they start offering prayers and begging for forgiveness to the Lord. So we have pride within our heart, and Krishna, being so merciful, is trying to strip us away from that pride. And I was thinking when we were doing the arti that how long does it take to understand the Bhagavad Gita? How long do you think it takes?
It just depends on one's consciousness. If one is clear, it's just a moment
Yes.
which one can accept.
Precisely. One can understand the entire purport of the Bhagavad Gita just in a very short time, just by simply accepting that principle that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and I am dependent upon Him in every sphere of life. But for most of us, we have to hear and hear and hear and hear and hear to convince us over and over and over and over again that I am a slave to my senses, I'm a slave to my mind, I'm a slave to the material energy, but I think I'm in control, but I'm actually not. So when we hear Krishna's words, it's very illuminating in that way, and then we can take shelter of Krishna's teachings and Krishna's devotees, and slowly but surely have this pride crushed and removed. And before one becomes a devotee, a lot of these bad qualities that we hear about, people glorify. You see like a musician or a sports athlete or somebody who's really intellectual, they usually have some bit of pride or arrogance. Not everybody, but mostly, and people respect that. I remember one time I was with Dr. Brian and we were at some store and we were getting some kind of oils for the tie or something, and there was some guy that was talking to us and I forget the exact words that he used, but basically he expressed that you guys are too humble. If you were more prideful, I would be more willing to listen to you. So it's that's what most people think, and devotees exhibit humility into people who aren't having the vision to see what humility is and why that's a good trait. They see devotees and they're like, oh, this guy's really a bummer, I don't want to be like him. So
we try to approach them from a humble state.
I'm speaking in general, but specifically, if we're talking about preaching sense, it's one should be mindful of that materialistic people, they don't respect humility. So when I'm in Vaishnava Sangha, then humility is a great trait to cultivate and express, and it enables us to go deeper in our relationships and purify one another, and it's beneficial for everything. But if I'm preaching, maybe I don't start with, I'm as low as a blade of grass, please take this book, I can't fall any further, you have to take this. So, people respect Krishna and, enthusiasm and all these things. So, not to say that one can't be boisterous and enthusiastic and courageous and still be humble. One could definitely still be humble, because being humble doesn't mean breaking oneself down and belittling oneself. I'm so fallen, I'm so miserable, I'm useless. We can prematurely try to mimic the great humility of the acharyas, but we don't have that genuine humility, and then we develop some kind of inferiority complex. I'm so fallen, I'm so, and then we just become like depressed and morose and some like weird person.
Means acharyas like showcase or reflect those qualities out of love and.
Well, the point is, how I mentioned, Srila Prabhupada gives the example that if you see that you are dependent upon something beyond yourself to see, something we take for granted, that for me to walk across the room, the light has to be on. For me to walk outside, there has to be lights. Otherwise, I can't function at all. So therefore, for me to do quite literally anything in life, I am dependent upon something beyond myself. Did I create the sun? No. So it's like, I didn't create that. Who created it? Krishna. Everything he says, he's the light of the sun. So therefore, I can't do anything without Krishna's will, without his, creating the universe in the way that he designed. So basically the point is that will lead you further and further and further and further to a realization that God is great and I am small. When you realize just how great Krishna is, then naturally you feel more small, but in a blissful way, in a way that leads to increased enthusiasm in devotional service, and not like moroseness. So we can hear, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, we could have like a professional psychiatrist come in here and they'd be like, what do you mean? These guys are totally morose, they're like totally depressed, they're sad, and somebody needs to get them some sense gratification so they can enjoy. It's crazy, this is what people do, they go to therapy and then they're given all sorts of things and ideas so they can be happy. But without Krishna consciousness, there's no knowledge of what actually brings happiness. And not. Point being is that in their songs, it's not that they're expressing their depression or their sadness, it's their longing for Krishna, from their deep realization of how big Krishna is naturally. Because Narottam Das Thakur, he's praying that I've wasted my life chasing material pleasures. He's chanting 2 lakh names a day, a sannyasi, renunciate his whole life, hankering after the association of the 6 Goswamis and his Guru Maharaj, Lokanath Goswami, Jiva Goswami, preaching, creating so many devotees, having a kirtan that's so ecstatic that the Panchatattva actually descended to their kirtan. And he's lamenting, saying, I've wasted my time. So we chant 16 rounds, and one day we have a good day where we finish our rounds early, and we get a little into it for 1 round, and we're like, cha, I got this, I figured it out. So no, it's always lamenting, wow. The more you realize Krishna, the more you realize how much I should do for Krishna. So, Guru Maharaj, we make the point that we chant 16 rounds, and 16 rounds is not enough. Chant 32 rounds. 32 rounds is not enough. 64 rounds? Not enough. 16,000 rounds, not enough. The more you realize how great Krishna is, then you realize that there's nothing equitable to offer to him. So then, what does that leave you with? Eternally trying to render service to the Lord, and then we see from the gopis who are completely surrendered to Krishna. Krishna says, I don't have anything to repay you. So how nice that is that we have nothing, to give to Krishna except for ourselves. And when one gives himself fully, 100%, Krishna says, I have nothing to give to you, basically except for me. This is reality. reality. This is real love. This is what the soul is seeking. We give ourselves to someone who is totally going to reciprocate with us to the highest extent perfectly. Otherwise, we'll always be feeling like something's lacking. So, Krishna consciousness is very nice. Okay, any other points, questions? Yeah.
On that point that you're making about the Acharyas, Maharaj this morning was talking about Prabhupada and how he was exemplary in showing us the way and the mood, giving us the direction, his footsteps to follow. And I mean, he was talking about how at one point he said he wasted so much time not taking sannyasa earlier that Bhaktisiddhanta actually asked that of him. In a way, he asked him to become renunciate, really, take up the Krishna consciousness mission in that way, much sooner than he did. And Maharaj is making the point that it's dangerous when we actually believe something like that, when we believe the regret expressed from a personality like Narottam Das, or the regret expressed from Prabhupada. Because then we're failing to see that actually all he's doing is giving us an ability to take that and apply it to our situation. So it wasn't that actually Prabhupada made any mistake at all in his Krishna consciousness life with his preaching and with his household examples. Everything was perfectly put into practice by him, but he says what he said to get us moving in the right direction so that we might not waste a second in our life with our activities. So I was thinking about that, which Maharaj said, the danger is actually believing these souls in the sense that they actually think that of themselves. They do, because the humility is there, but we need to see with the vision that you're talking about, which goes beyond that, which is if we allow fully capable of jolting us out of the deep sleep that we're in. And then I was thinking about also, if we do have the vision to see beyond to the reality that, okay, they're setting they did what they did for us, and we can also become complacent and think, like in Christianity, we think, okay, Christ did what he did for us, so now I'm done. I don't have to do anything, But it's actually it's a path that we have to walk and follow and embody ourselves. It's not that we have a free ticket out of here or anything based on anything that someone has done for us. There's been so much causeless mercy, but we still have to fight ourselves, like Arjuna had to fight himself. So those 2 points that I was just thinking of now.
We have to fight. Krishna doesn't do everything for Arjuna. So, I can only speak for myself, but that's difficult for me to accept. Just coming to spiritual life and say, okay, I surrender to God, and hopefully everything's magically going to work out, Now Krishna's giving us the tools, and we have to take those tools, just like Arjuna is taking his arrows in the battle. What are those tools? Everybody is equipped with different tools. But to use our qualities, use what's given to us, and use it in Krishna's service. One thing you mentioned, it just made me think about what I was saying in like a deeper way. It's like, when I say so there's many anarthas, and as one advances in devotional service, a lot of this dust is cleansed from the heart, so one is removing more and more of this junk that's in their consciousness. So the more one advances, and the more one is becoming purified, so that they're more aware of the subtleties of life, and they can reveal those subtleties, and it often comes off in humility, realizing that I am dependent upon something beyond myself, that I am fallen, and one can express that, and around, non-Vaishnavas who don't have that realization, that connection, that vision, then they often don't resonate with that. That's just kind of like opening up the point that I was making a little bit more. And this is why, it's favorable to reveal our mind to the Vaishnavas and inquire into the mind of the Vaishnavas, but to like a karmi, then it's not so beneficial to reveal these things, because what's going to happen if I go, I know some person and maybe they're nice and sweet person, but they have no knowledge of what Krishna is saying about Bhagavad Gita, and I call them one day and I'm like, hey, I've had a bad day and I'm struggling with this, and I'm struggling with that. They're gonna, oh, it sounds horrible, you just need to like take it easy, go like watch a movie and smoke something and drink this and go find a member of the opposite sex and enjoy. And you're gonna be like, oh, maybe they're right. So it's very important that who we take shelter of, because if we're taking shelter of people who are not in devotional service, what do they have to offer us other than sense gratification? Because that's all that they know. And that's connected to some verse that we read about that. So, Krishna is talking about how, what is it? Yeah, text 11, the endeavoring transcendentals who is situated in self-realization can see all this clearly, but those who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try to. So he described that the subtle body is carrying our self, our soul, to another gross body, because we're identifying with that. It's taking us to body after body. And one who is learned in this process of path and knowledge can see how this is actually happening as it's happening within oneself and within others. But one who has no knowledge simply can't see it at all. So when you associate with devotees who are learning to that process and they're putting a stop to it, then they can see what you're doing and be like, oh, Prabhu, you're doing these habits and this thing, this is going to lead you in this direction. And due to our pride or arrogance or stubbornness, we may not take heed of the warning of senior Vaishnavas. And in the Bhagavatam it describes that there's 3 different types of knowledge, or like ways to learn. One is by hearing, so simply by hearing somebody who's qualified, then I get the benefit, I apply it to my life. But most of us fall in second class, where we have to hear, and then we don't learn, but then after hearing, we experience it. And then when we experience it, then we're like, oh, okay, yeah. Now it makes sense. Now I believe you, So Krishna's giving everything we need to persevere, through this material world and come back to Him. But a lot of times we take it into our head, but not into our heart. So then Krishna has to smack us time to time, and then we're like, okay, Krishna's right, he's making some good points. Okay, let me just buckle down and follow what he's saying. Third class intelligences don't learn at all. So at least we're making progress, and that's what we should do, is keep practicing and keep persevering. I just one other point on this is like, you can look at people, I may not have perfect vision and it may not be a perfect science, I'm not sure, but you can almost see certain people cultivating certain habits, or they have certain associations, and it's like you can see right before your own eyes that they're preparing their next body. Like I've seen some people who are like very attached to horses. They almost start developing like the look of a horse, or some people are living like pigs and like hogs, like quite literally, and they start like developing these traits and qualities in this very life. And on the flip side, you can see devotees who are living, wild, druggy hippies. They take the devotional service and all of a sudden they start shining and developing these really, really good qualities. So the power of association is very, very important. It's very impactful. And we will get tested many times where our allegiance lies, who we associate with. So I could be in the midst of the devotees, but I don't even associate with them. Come to the temple, I go Hare Krishna, then okay, Jai, time to leave, and I go off on my own, and it's just I'm associated with my mind all day long. Krishna says that the conditioned mind is the worst enemy. It's the worst enemy. So you can see with devotees who have conquered the mind, or at least started to conquer the mind, then you know definitively how everybody else is dealing with their mind all the time. And it's just this endless thing, this endless loop that's constantly trying to calculate and figure and plan and think, and it just saps so much of our energy, of our vitality. We simply just, hey Krishna, whatever you want, Krishna, I'm here to serve you, Haribol, then life is pretty nice, pretty easy. So, some of us may have to work jobs, and that brings more challenges, more difficulties, we have to deal with people, we have to make ends meet, make money. It's part of life, but whatever time we have that we're able to just give to Krishna, hearing, chanting, doing service, say, okay, Krishna, I don't know what you want me to do in life, but I surrender to you, and I have faith that you will guide me, and just maintaining that consciousness and serving Krishna in that state, it's very liberating. But to not have faith in Krishna's plan, and Krishna's teachings, His guidance, the devotees, and we're just always in our mind, oh my goodness, it's just like prison, it's hell. So, we need to conquer the mind. We need to practice also what does Krishna say about controlling the mind. He says, practice in detachment. Detachment is of the utmost importance. Huh?
Utsaha, Nischaya, Dharya.
That's what he said? Utsaha?
Utsaha, Nischaya, Dharya.
Translation. Enthusiasm.
Utsaha means, being enthusiastic. Nischaya means being fixed. And Dharya is having the courage to take up the process.
Yeah, so Rupa Goswami in the Nectar of Instruction, he gives this recipe, we have to be enthusiastic, but we have to be patient. So we have to be enthusiastic to serve Krishna, to do something for Krishna, to hear from Krishna, to associate with the devotees, serve the devotees, but we have to be patient. I can go on serving Krishna, but Krishna's mercy may never come. Go on serving anyways. One quick last point. There's a devotee, I forget his name, Mukunda. He was associate of Lord Chaitanya, and in his free time when he wasn't with Lord Chaitanya and the kirtans, he would go associate with Mayavadis and hear from them. And Lord Chaitanya said, it's like you stabbed me in the back. I never want to see you again. And they threw him out of the kirtan. He wasn't allowed in there. And then he was outside and he was like crying. He was like totally lamenting. And then all the devotees, they felt bad for him. And they liked him, So they went inside and told Lord Chaitanya. They were like, what happened? Why'd you do this? Let him in. And then Lord Chaitanya's like, no. And then he's like, okay, you tell him that you'll take 1,000 births again before he attains my association. And then that devotee was like, when they went outside and told him, he was like, Haribol, I'll be able to associate with the Lord again. So, I realized hearing this is, after that, then Lord Chaitanya was like, okay, that's it, bring him in. So, yeah, so that's the mood that we need to adopt, is that I may go on for 1,000,000 births struggling with all of my anarthas, but I'm willing to do it to serve Krishna. And if one just accepts that mood, then it's like Krishna's mercy is already there. because we made that fixed determination that Krishna is my life. So then that's the goal. But we may try so hard and work so hard, but we don't really accept that. And then one may go on forever and still be devoid of that mercy. So ultimately, Prabhupada is saying we have to be free from this pride. To be free from pride, we have to see that I'm not independent. So, thank you everybody. You're hearing the Bhagavad Gita. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Gaura Nitai ki jai, Vacha Karturu Vishja